Alrighty. It is 7:01 PM. We'll call the September 9th, 2024 Select Board meeting to order. And I know we do have an amendment to the agenda tonight. So let's see. We'll add new business 6F, the general assistance public hearing issue to the, but remind me because I'll probably skip right over it. So remind me to get down there.
Also, I'd just like to ask, could you give us an update on the cross street situation? It was a meeting that I was asked to attend, couldn't be there, just. I would appreciate it.
Town manager report. I can
Okay.
Update you.
Thanks.
Excellent. All right, so then on to the minutes of the previous meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of August 26th, 2024 meeting as presented? Motion by Ben, seconded by, I didn't see, Rufus. Did anyone have any additions, corrections to that? Oh, all right, then seeing none, all in favor? This is 5-0. Let's see. Do we have any public comments on items not on the agenda tonight? David, you look like you're going to get up.
Yes, well, I don't know if I needed to be from.
David Levesque, 30 Glidden Street. Just wanted the first thing to check on the status of the cable franchise contract. I know I've mentioned it a couple times and I knew it was somewhere close to the priority list, but then the list has been redone, I'm sure, since then. So hoping that we have a new contract and getting 5% of the franchise fee instead of 3%.
That's last
Still
week
in
was
the-
with the attorney, or
still in
he had reached out to them and they haven't gotten back to him. I think that's last I heard.
We need to reach back out to them yet again. And we haven't since the new law came into effect. January.
If you will, that would be great, knowing that our tax has gone up. Any revenue that can come in offset it would be great.
That would be
Yeah.
good.
And then I don't know if I can go there because it wasn't officially on the agenda, but the cross street situation, is that officially on the agenda or can I?
You can talk about it, it's not on the agenda.
Okay, all right. Well, I just wanted to mention that I am disappointed with the road commissioner's actions recently in the neighborhood. And that whether he's acting as road commissioner or as the proprietor of Hager Enterprises, it just doesn't seem like his actions should be acceptable. So I just wanted to put that out there. And then secondly, just seeing the construction there has made me wonder, is there a fine line between working in the area you're supposed to and then illegal taking of people's property by just maybe going too far with the digs? So I don't know if there's been any discussions with him if or if it's related directly to water district construction versus Newcastle stuff, but there it just seemed to be that people's lawns are getting narrower and things are disappearing from their lawns.
So I want specifics, but we're not doing anything over there at this point.
This is
It's all
all of the work
water.
that's been done is the water
District.
water district
Right.
had to dig and they will be replacing the pavement, or they did replace the pavement. Specifically where they dug to deal with the water.
So David, you're,
Some sidewalk on the end of Cross Street was removed. As road commissioner Seth said, this has to go because we're getting it with the plows. And when they go to repave, there's gonna be an issue. Seth and I met with about 10 residents of the neighborhood, including all of the residents on Cross Street. Had a conversation about what our intent is and the roles between Seth, our road commissioner, Hagar Enterprises doing contract work for Great Salt Bay, and Hagar Enterprises doing work for the town. We worked out the concerns and came to an agreement on all fronts. So I think some of David's concerns, David, I'm sorry you weren't at that conversation. That probably would have helped alleviate some of the concerns and issues that were raised.
okay. So,
But on the question of boundaries, wasn't that surveyed recently?
It hasn't been done yet,
Yeah.
but that's for
Would be.
Glidden Street specifically, to
Right.
try to get that. I do hope to address cross and pump in the future. As we look to think about where we want sidewalks, how we design sidewalks, what do they look like in that neighborhood? There's no desire from the road commissioner or myself to widen those roads any more than they need to be. That's not the intent here.
Right, and I think people have said they want better sidewalks, so, but we've got to do the,
And they have to be
Survey
ADA
work first.
compliant, right,
Mhm.
or they have to be ADA compliant. And we have to do the survey work to determine where our actual boundaries are. And we typically use the center of the line of the road, 25 feet each direction is our base point. But because the houses are so close to one another and they're so close to what is the right of way, it's really important that we do the survey work ahead of any major improvements or changes to the current makeup of those roads.
I think that would be helpful.
okay, great, thank you. Are any other comments on items not on the agenda tonight? Right, then we will move on to. We don't have any unfinished business, so right on to new business, 6A, the DMR experimental aquaculture lease application. So zoom down to that.
Mr. McPherson, why don't you join us at the table? Ryan here has applied for a DMR license. So why is this in front of the board? You jump to page 8 of your packet. There's a checklist, and under there's if the proposed lease is above mean low water. So then if you jump to page 10, the first question is checked, which basically says, is any part of this parcel going to be under the or at the mean low water line?
Which
Ryan-
means what?
Check the box. Ryan, can you explain what that
Please
is?
explain.
At the intertidal zone, so it's between at a zero tide. Is there water or not water? Is it above that area? Is it above zero?
Okay, so it would be high and dry on mud if
At
we had
zero.
super low tide.
Yes,
Okay,
perfect.
But given the terrain at your particular location, it's really not even conducive for clamming or other uses in that area.
Correct.
And that was what came from the conversation with the Shellfish Commission a week and a half ago now. So anyway, because the part of this would be in that area, that low mean water site, it is the municipal officials' responsibility to either consent with the lease or not. So while the Shellfish Committee looked at it, they gave their recommendation and support for it. It's ultimately the Newcastle Select Board's responsibility to approve it.
How much area is in the intertidal zone?
How much area is leased, is going to be leased in the intertidal?
In the intertidal.
It's like 0.45 acres
Oh, okay.
happening. Less
So
than
that's the total.
That's the total.
Right.
No, what,
area of the lease.
yeah, but is all of that gonna be,
That's the whole lease in general.
Is it-
Most of that's.
but is some of it gonna, bottom out at low tide, or is it gonna be?
Yeah, some of it will bottom out.
Yeah, what's that area that's gonna bottom of the whole? Piece?
At what tide?
Low tide.
Well,
normal
reason-
low tide.
Yeah, I mean, we just as a sample, we had somebody, I think it was in the spring, Kevin, right?
Yep.
And it was the same question. It was a very minuscule sort of area that we were actually assessing.
Is
to get-
what he's saying is like, what percentage of your total lease area is above that low tide?
Yeah,
Well, at zero tide,
yeah, I guess that's what you're calling zero tide.
yeah, zero tide, there's nothing above it.
Okay,
At low water tide, at
low-
low
at-
tide.
Yeah, at a low tide, it's all exposed.
oh, okay.
So below, below zero tide.
Got it.
And how is anything suspended? If you're gonna be, and that just sounds messy.
Suspended, well, we use the rebar staples, we're calling them. They're used in other sites on the river already. Just 6 foot long rebar that are pushed. into
And I'm
the
just asking out of curiosity,
Yeah.
like, you know,
Yeah.
you don't have stuff sitting in the mud every 24 hours, twice every 24 hours, right?
No,
It's just a,
nothing sitting in the mud, it's all suspended right above.
Okay.
so when it's super low tide, it's not gonna be
So the staples keep it from floating away and from
From bottom.
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 Yeah.
Okay.
Huh.
Okay, but it'll be a little bit more visible, okay.
So, sorry for all the questions. I'm just curious because it's not my sort of knowledge base,
Yeah.
but what is the, I guess just my observation of other leases, they don't seem to do that. Is this different than some of the other leases, or is it?
No, there's, I think, I can't speak. I know there's at least 2 leases that do the same exact thing on the river.
Okay,
We're just not there to see it at low tide, I guess,
yeah, I guess I don't time it right.
and be on the water.
Could be, sorry. Go ahead.
The only thing I would ask is, looking at the map, you're putting it not far from one house. I guess the other one was, there's like 3 houses on both sides of it. How does it impact those houses?
Right above our property, where I live, it's my house, and then and then to our south is the Harmons. We've asked them, and
They're fine.
yeah, they're fine.
Okay.
And then there's new homeowners to our north, and they're fine with it as well. Their access to the water is through their
Okay.
properties.
Okay,
So it's mostly just your view that's.
okay. Does anyone have any other questions?
No, I'll make a motion to grant Brian McPherson's request to have an experimental aquaculture lease of suspended American oysters above mean low water in Newcastle, Maine.
I'll second it.
Okay, if no other questions, then all in favor? All right, go fish.
Thank you.
I'll email you tomorrow, Ryan. Yep. Always.
All right, then moving on to 6B, board and committee appointment.
I'll make a motion to appoint David Garcia. How do you say David's last name? Don't want to get it wrong.
Tora, do you know how to pronounce it correctly?
I do not. I'm amazed that I know how to spell it. Say David and it's not David.
Oh, I apologize.
But
Domenech?
Domenech.
Domenech. Okay, so we have a motion to approve him to
Harriet
appoint him
Bird
to the
Club.
Harriet Bird Clubhouse Committee.
Yep.
Great. Second,
I second that.
seconded by Tor. Does anybody have any
Term
questions?
expiring June 30th, 27.
Yes, June 30th, 2027. Yep.
3-year term.
Does anybody have any questions?
As long as he's willing.
Yeah,
He has expressed his interest.
no, that's great.
Yeah.
That's good.
With our thanks.
Mhm.
Well, then all in favor? Right, passes 5-0. That brings us to item 6C, the harbor management ordinance. Which is quite.
I'm sure you had to,
lengthy.
I'm sure you had to dust the cobwebs out. And
True.
Ben wasn't part of that conversation because we did this back in January under
Yep.
the prior. Yeah, I know. It was the day before Andy had his
Mm.
baby, so
Right.
of course that got shelved for a period of time.
Mhm.
And I finally got him to review it again and make sure there weren't any additional changes beyond what I've given. So what's in front of you is been okayed by Andy, has been okayed by our attorney. And now it sits and, the other select board has seen this. So all I'm doing is putting it in front of you tonight to say, I'd like to go through this process, have a meeting in December, early December with a special town meeting in December, but be joint with Damascotta to address this one.
Yeah.
And the next item, which is the shellfish conservation ordinance.
Yep.
So that's why your packet's so thick this week. It's because there's both ordinances with their revisions in there.
Yep.
Ideally, we'd start that scheduling process. I just kind of want to get your thoughts if other things that you may have recalled, or if you've read through it or wanted to read through it and noticed the things that should be addressed. We have a little time, but I want to just kind of get the ball rolling.
I of course found a couple itty bitty little things that need to be changed.
Of course. Let me know what they are and I'll.
I mean, they're super tiny, but just since we're cleaning it up. Section 4.4 on our page 43. Let's see. Second line, and receive compensation determined the administering town. So we're just missing a by in there. It's cleaning it up.
Which, I'm sorry, say it again, 4 point.
4.4.
Yep.
Page 43. It says a harbor master shall be appointed annually by the administering town's select, oh, that should be an apostrophe S too.
Yeah.
Town's select board. And receive compensation determined the administering town. Because of what got crossed out, the by. got
Determined
left.
by,
Yep, the by got left off. So we had an apostrophe in towns as well.
okay.
And then the only other thing was on our page 56.
Yeah.
We get down there. Section 9.2. Oh, floats, the first word, the second word in the paragraph has just a little too much S.
Oh, it's crossed off.
One of them's crossed out.
Oh, it isn't, it's not on. If it is, I can't see it.
Yeah, it's
Oh, it's very
very
faint.
faint.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's super
It's
faint.
purple, because it was
Yeah.
the second attempt at going.
Yeah, it's not red. Okay, so that one's already taken
Okay.
care of. So those are the only ones I picked up, but otherwise everything.
Good
Um,
catch.
Okay, so since we're right there.
Yeah.
In 9.1 prohibition, no person shall abandon or cause to be abandoned any watercraft, fish shanty, or related equipment, or what is that word?
I don't know.
Appurtenances.
Appurtenances, is that a word? I would think apparati,
Appurtenances.
I think that actually is a word.
is that a word? Okay, I
Okay.
just,
Appurtenances.
okay,
Yeah, so
Great.
those are like add-on things.
that's
Good.
good.
Can someone
Just
Google it?
expand our vocabulary.
I, that's just not a word I'm familiar with.
Word of the day tomorrow
Yeah.
is apparatus.
Appurtenances.
No results.
I don't
I
think
don't
it
think
is.
that's a word.
You don't think so?
Apparatus,
No.
That's what I.
related equipment.
Apparatus.
Apparatus.
No, this
I-
is close, there's a word close to that.
I've seen this used in other ordinances.
All right, let's
Well, maybe
see.
they're all wrong too.
Maybe, could
It's
be.
possible.
No, it is a word,
It is, yeah.
but it's spelled wrong.
That would.
No,
that
it's,
would-
no.
It's
Uh,
an
that's right.
accessory or another item associated with particular activity or style of living.
There it is.
Associated with
Mhm.
the company or belonging to another thing, accessory.
Sorry, I should have Googled it myself.
I mean, or, focus on plain language, folks, so.
Yeah, an accessory already.
That's a fun one, though.
It
Mhm.
sure is.
Okay, I'll allow it.
Thank you.
So just towns and word by.
That's all I can
Okay.
have with it. I mean, otherwise, we've been through it.
We did. We
Yeah.
spent a significant amount of that evening working through this in detail with the harbor committee.
But then you've got a fresh set of eyes on it. Did you, nothing that jumped out at you?
No, and to be honest with you, I do have a hard time reading red line, so.
Give you a clean version.
See, I'm the other way. I like the red lines because I want to see what changed. So sometimes that helps me understand.
And usually I give you
Transition.
both,
You do.
but it's
Then it
20
would be
pages,
180
25 pages.
pages.
Right.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Nothing stood out, but, yeah.
So do we have a date yet for our joint meeting?
Looking
We've
early
been back
December.
and forth like the second week of December,
Okay.
like the Wednesday, Tuesday or Wednesday, uncertain exactly which one.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it might be that second Wednesday of the month,
Okay.
I think.
Mhm.
Oh, thank you. Which,
Oi,
oh, we don't want that. Look at that. Maybe, would you like to look at the whole thing? Good. Yeah, because sometimes we've read it so many times, we just jump over things. I
who is
mean, if
the
we're
title?
cleaning it up, let's clean it up.
Glad I put it up on the screen.
Yeah. Oh, that's just one part of a page and she's already picked up on something.
Uh-oh.
Well, you are welcome to review it. Let me know if you find anything else, and the next time this comes in front of the boards, we'll have all those corrections.
Excellent. All right, so we don't need to make any motion or do anything with that then.
Nope, I just trying to see if everyone has the stomach for a joint special town meeting, and as you'll see in the town manager report, I also have some other ordinances that need a little bit of revision, so Andy and I were talking about doing a joint meeting and then having members of the communities that are all there for the joint meeting then go into their own rooms to address some other ordinances from each town too, because Andy's got a few changes for ordinances that he needs to get done, so. Just make it a very efficient evening. Clean up some stuff.
All right, then item 6D, We move on to the joint shellfish, can't speak tonight. Joint shellfish conservation ordinance. Same thing. This is a little bit shorter. I found one little thing in this one too.
Okay.
Page 75. Let me get down to it too, so I make sure I don't say the wrong part. D1. Line 4. Oh, we'll start up above it. Except those applicants who have purchases a commercial license. I think we need D instead of the S there.
Where is that? On what
Here.
section?
D1, the fourth line down, the purchases should be
Oh.
purchased. But again, Ben, fresh eyes.
No, I'm good.
Anybody have anything? Again, we kind of spent some time on, a little bit of time on this one too.
Is, Heather, are you here for this? You're on that committee, aren't you?
I am, I'm here just in case any questions came up.
I got a
I'm
question.
member of that.
Yeah, I got a question. Would you mind coming up to the seat? Thank you.
Heather Leslie, 4 Pleasant Street.
Thanks for serving on this. So my understanding from the state is this town doesn't regulate anything below what Mr. McPherson was saying, the 0 tide line, so but below the interdial zone. So how can we limit the number of shellfish harvesters? Is that,
That's state statute.
so the town can limit that number?
If we have a shellfish conservation ordinance in place.
I'll defer to the town manager on the finer points, yes. But this is all about intertidal harvest.
Okay,
Right, they're
And- yeah.
digging for clam, digging for mussels. That's really what the focus of the committee is. They
So-
make the determination about how many licenses to put out. And that's all,
Right, based on the shellfish health population and all that any given year. But it does say oysters in here as well.
There are intertidal oyster populations.
Okay,
And we at the Darling Center started studying those populations at the request of the committee. In part because oysters have become a more important resource for wild harvesters with the decline of soft shell clams. That's less true this year than it was 4 years ago, maybe, because we're seeing booms and busts in the oysters, just like the other bivalve species, which is not unexpected. That sometimes they have a really good year for babies and other times they don't. So, yeah, that's why when I first joined the committee, I think in 2017, we added oysters to the ordinance. That was the last time the ordinance was
so that's
revised.
not related to farming of oysters, it's more related to the wild.
It's
oyster.
not related in terms of the ordinance. It is related as to why they're there.
Yes,
Most people think, and that's another thing we're trying to get, understand better, is how connected the farmed oyster populations are to the wild oyster populations, because the wild ones have become a significant resource for both commercial and recreational harvesters.
I mean, we started out, they were all wild. We had a lot of them.
Millennium,
in Scott
a long
River.
time ago, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, long time.
And so it would be nice if that resource increased potentially, but that's actually part of the reason I wanted to be here as well, is to thank the committee and the town for having the foresight to look at these ordinances together. Because I think when we look at them together and with the shoreline zoning ordinance, we can start to think more about the whole system and how people are interacting with it, rather than just thinking about shellfish and the harbor and the shore.
Good. I'm glad you clarified that. I was confused, so it's
Yeah.
good.
thanks. That's all I had.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? All right. So,
yeah, and as I said, the committee met, they've approved, they've, gave the recommendation that move forward with these changes. Kate from DMR has also reviewed this and has said, should have a letter by the end of this week with their support, and that's required as part of the state statutes, that DMR has to certify your decision of what you want to move forward before you can move.
okay,
So I should have that at the end of this week, then these both can be addressed in December.
Oh, excellent. That'll be a fun town meeting.
It will. Gonna have to get people like Heather and Ryan and others up front to talk about specifically this ordinance and how it impacts our towns, because there's a lot that goes into it. There's a lot of expectation from residents and non-residents alike, both commercial and what's the other? Recreation. Thank you. I was looking for that word. Yeah, so I thank the members of the committee who continue to participate in this, because it's not necessarily an easy task.
Well, you gotta know something. You know, an
Yeah.
expert in our town, which is, I'm referring to you as an expert, hope you accept that. Yeah.
Quite a few on those.
And-
You have quite a few on the
But
committee.
that's, I'm just thrilled that we have people that have the knowledge and are willing to serve on these committees. It's great.
Get back up to the top again here.
Click on agenda.
Yep, here we go. Let's see, so 6E is a discussion of use of the reserve fund accounts.
Okay, so. Oh,
It sounds like we have a lot more money kicking around than we really do.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that,
Yeah.
almost half of that is roads and other things that are set aside to be used.
correct.
Yep.
There's intended uses for many of these things, such as the fire truck. 150,000 that's sitting there is specifically to pay for the fire truck that we already approved and have the authority to bond for whatever we don't use in cash. There's money in there
the severe
specifically for the
storm.
roads. The
Mhm.
severe storms is to address these big storm related things, and any design work that has to be done.
We can't do anything with the Allies money other
Correct.
than fix the ladder. and
Right,
such.
so, yeah, but there are a few of these reserves, such as building maintenance.
Yep.
Or the building fund, which should ideally be used to pay for reconfiguration, design work, or construction of a new facility. But I'm looking at the building maintenance line, and I'm thinking about this invoice I just got for about $6,000 to rekey our buildings. I have to admit that
Is that already done?
no, it's not. I haven't done it yet because I don't feel comfortable just spending $6,000 without having a policy in place that says this reserve account is Kevin's piggy bank or not.
You mean building maintenance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That seems
is,
like a legitimate building maintenance.
I mean, the issue
expense.
really is I have no idea. This is not necessarily my fault, but
Mhm.
I've
No,
just let
it's
it
not.
continue on where I don't know who has what keys to what rooms. And that door right there goes to where all the election stuff is. And the only people who should have those keys are the clerks.
Right.
There are a few people who have master keys that open that door. So for me, as a manager, that's an issue that needs to be addressed. But I don't even have a list of who has what key.
It doesn't seem like it was maintained over the years.
It hasn't been, and the cost to rekey everything is pretty high, and because of changes in leadership over the course of 4 or 5 years, everything's in John Duke's name. And the gentleman who runs the company is no longer with the company, so there's no way to I basically have to start over. And if I'm gonna start over, I might as well look at other options. And things I was thinking about was this room, I can have 99 people have different codes on it. And I can have that tracked and I can undo when someone's done, someone serves, we'll say 14 years or 12 years on the board and then says, I'm done, I can remove their code.
Mhm.
Or it's a committee that likes to use this space for a few years and they have access to it, but then at some point they said, we're done. I can just remove their code, not trying to get keys and bring them back in. So this door would be a key code, the back door of the town office would be a key code. And the Harriet Bird could be a key code. And then I'm not chasing down what organization just used the space. And then I have to get the key from them, or they have to come and get a key. I can just give them a code and we can reset the code every couple of weeks.
So what's the What was the estimate for?
About
Is it
six, it was
keys?
just under $6,000
Mm,
for.
Yeah, but
all the
I
systems.
guess I didn't get into, it's
That's-
for physical keys. that you're-
Or
And,
the.
and new locks.
Those special locks are about $900. That's the change there. But it reduces the number of keys I physically have to make and maintain.
So, yeah, I mean, there's several ways you can manage this. I mean, facilities do, facilities managers have this issue all the time, in any campus situation. But there's also, there's also fobs, card keys. So I don't know, I mean, maybe the, the punch digit is okay. But it implies that people are gonna remember that number.
Well,
So-
but if, like he said, if each person can set their own code, that makes it easier.
And I can reset codes.
Right.
I think it's more manageable for me to, somebody calls and says, I lost my code, I can give them their code. It's harder if I'm tracking down, I'm giving out, let's say 50 keys. Think about everybody in the community who has access to this facility. There's probably about 50 keys out there.
It makes sense to get away from brass keys, for sure.
Right, and the cost, and it's not just you can go to the local store and have them reprinted. They're specifically coded in a way that one entity to make new keys.
Mhm.
And that I can't do because there's two members of that organization right now who are no longer with this or with the Medco company and with our organization are no longer part of that. So I'd have to restart anyway. And that's internally, this is what I'm grappling with, but then it's, all right, well, now I have a $5,000 or almost $6,000 expense. How do I pay for it? And how do I use the policies that the town has to make that decision? I don't really have it. So that's where that's why I framed this as a use of reserve funds. Well, I don't know if that, and this is something I want to back up the finance committee, as long as you guys are supportive of this. And probably get your blessing to spend this $5,000 out of the building reserve fund or building maintenance reserve fund. But just come up with a policy about these reserve funds and what specifically, understanding what they're for and when they can be utilized.
So I've had, maybe, can we have,
Yeah.
no?
Yep.
Go ahead.
If you're moving to an electronic key management system, is it designed so that it works effectively in power out situations where you have emergency obligations coming out of this building and undoubtedly out of the town office?
They are a high level battery powered mechanism that unlocks just right here. So it isn't tied to the power of the building. And it's keyed too, so I would have a key that would let me into that space.
Okay, would there be physical keys for select individuals, fire chief?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's good to know.
I think the
You
main,
were you gonna talk?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah, go ahead.
You sure?
Yeah, I just have a point about keys and reserves.
Great.
Cause I don't.
sorry to
I'm not
muddy
sure-
this.
I'm not sure
but-
we don't wanna, I'm not sure we wanna get into the key, like, because we could debate this. I know several systems that we could recommend, but I'm
Yeah.
wondering. If we could just leave it up to you to kind of come back with, kind of the outline. I know this is one proposal. Is there any other option or is this the one to go to or? Is there-
The one where I was able to get somebody to come out
Yeah.
and give me a few hours and then do an estimate.
Yeah.
The one that I was able to get,
Yeah,
called great.
So all I was gonna say was about the key is spending that much on an antiquated technology just really ruffles my feathers. It just seems like an insane waste of money, so. I took some time and actually put together some numbers.
Mhm.
And I could replace. All the security cameras, all the network infrastructure, all the Wi-Fi. And door access for less than that quote. So I'm very interested in exploring a digital solution.
Okay, my only challenge with Harry Bird is there is no internet there.
Mhm.
So
That's different.
that is a totally different situation, and I do want to get to a place where I can do a key code there.
Mhm.
Punch code, give it to whoever's using it, and they can use it for the week.
That would make sense, but what do you mean? What, I don't understand what you're talking about.
I think he's saying that the prices that we were given are bananas.
Bananas. And I know that physical keys are, it's, you know, it's expensive. If you're gonna do master keys and rekey things that are all the same. I get that, it's insanely expensive. But
But we're not
I
just-
wouldn't be interested in spending that money on an antiquated technology that produces a physical key, just so that we have a physical key. I'd be much more interested in just replacing these locks with off-the-shelf cheapo locks with keys. And having a complete digital solution for door access and security cameras, Wi-Fi and network and everything that we need.
But how do I keep that key from being made at the
Duplicated.
Home Depot?
Well, you only have one and you put it in the safe, you never use it.
How does the fire, if there's an issue in the building and the system's down, how does the fire chief get in? Is
It's got
it
independent backup.
We should actually have Knox boxes on buildings, just for that.
But how would we get in here? In your scenario, what would you use?
Like Tor said, fobs or key cards.
Oh, just swipe in,
You just swipe in, or it's a keypad that you can just swipe a card
Yeah.
or a fob.
like a hotel
Or
room.
you can put in a code, like Kevin was saying.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one device that does all those things. Plus it has a security camera attached to it and a microphone, so. Press the button, hey, everybody forgot their fobs, you're in Tallahassee. And you go, okay, door unlocked,
Never.
you know, like.
Yep.
Those things are not that expensive anymore.
Yep.
They used to be crazy expensive, but now they're not. So, yeah, I'd be very interested in going that direction.
We should look at Wi-Fi and Harriet Bird too.
That's like $100 and something a month.
right?
Really?
It's not utilized enough to justify
To
that
justify,
yet. If it was used every weekend, sure,
yeah.
but I'm talking about a dozen or 15 times of the year right now. We're close in the
Kevin.
winter.
Kevin's hotspot on his cell phone.
Not even that, because I don't have great service out there
Yeah,
anyway.
no,
So.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of nice. You just write things down on paper and type them out when you get them.
But if it's digital and it's tied to the security system, you've got cameras that are recording things, you've got an access log of who came and went and. You know, and the fact that you can do all of that for less money than. Actual physical keys, this,
To back up, thank you for coming forward with the question, because I could think of some scenario where this wouldn't have been presented in years past, and it would have just been, hey, we're getting new keys everywhere. This is what we're doing, guys.
Yeah.
How much do you spend? $6,000. Oh, okay, I guess we're spending $6,000.
yeah, right, okay.
So thank you.
Yeah.
And, but I think I'm with Ben. I think we need to, it's not a crisis right now. And so.
Yeah.
But let's not let it become a crisis where something gets compromised. So, but we should, I think, look at other alternatives too.
I mention it, and I bring it up because it is one of those handful of things administratively that I realize need to be addressed at some point, so.
Yeah.
All right, if the board collectively isn't okay with this, I won't move forward with it. Do some more research first.
Can we come back to it?
Yeah, I have 30 days with this quote.
I think to me, like, the most pressing issue that you brought up is the election apparatus, and maybe it's worth rekeying that single door.
Yep.
So that you know exactly who has a key to that one door, and then take a little more time to investigate the rekeying of all the properties.
Yeah, but that's $35 a
Exactly, yeah,
hardware.
exactly. You can, you can do that for, chump change, and
I can do it tomorrow.
yeah, and then have that level of just peace of mind. And then, take a little time and get another couple of quotes on the bigger issue.
Other ways to approach it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ben can share his.
Yeah.
Stuff that's in his head.
Data dump.
So
He
it
gives
actually,
that to me once, at least once a week.
the conversation actually started about the reserves.
Yep.
So I just wanted to come back to a point about the reserve.
Yep.
So in things like building maintenance, building, which is one word, is not very descriptive on what that money is there for. And you have provided descriptions in previous meetings, so.
Yes, there's
No, you-
there's another format that we looked at in the budget process. I just wanted to give a quick, you
Yeah.
know, synopsis of what do we have in our reserves as of last week.
Mhm.
But yeah, you're right, there is another version of this that's part of the that was part of the budget packet. That included a description, how it got created,
Mhm.
data creation.
So I think I've said this before, things like building maintenance. Let's call it a building emergencies where, maybe the key thing could be considered an emergency, like. The boiler goes out and all of a sudden we have to spend $15,000 to replace a boiler somewhere.
Things we can't plan for.
Things we don't plan for. Like not much different than severe storm reserves, because we don't know if there is or there isn't gonna be a storm to use that money on. So emergencies are just that. And I think that, is it a reserve? I would argue that that should be carried in line item under the facilities department. In annual, approved by the citizens every year. And then in our discussion, budget, we review it and say, we have let's say $50,000 in emergency or building maintenance, or let's call it emergency funds for buildings specifically. We haven't used it, or we used $20,000 of it because this happened. Do we want to, raise taxes again for 50,000? So, that's the way I look at it. I think putting reserve money away for building maintenance, which is just depreciation, is not the way to do it. I think we should fund that every year. So I think, anticipated building maintenance like painting, re-roofing, fixing any issue that we know is gonna come up, we should not reserve money for that. We should solicit bids, like the keying thing. And then know that's in our forecast and then raise funds for it.
I think there was a discussion about the solicitation of bids and the quickness with which you need to move to take advantage of that quote. Right, so you get a bid in say May, and that's best case scenario, and then you put it in the budget, and a year goes by before you can take advantage of that, and by then the prices have changed. So I think I remember some discussion about that fund being a little more flexible so that you could take advantage of, say, the summer painting season,
Mhm.
for example. And I mean, I think, yeah, having maybe a minimum balance, or like you said, it's a depreciation. So we know more or less, yeah, we're gonna have every 10 years, we're gonna have. to paint.
I can tell you within a few years when the roof on my house is gonna need to be replaced.
Right,
And it's not this year, and it's maybe not 10 years from now, but yeah, in 12 years. I should
You're getting
probably consider that in my.
Yeah.
Household budget sometime in about 8 years, how am I gonna pay for a new roof?
right.
So it's not a surprise, but if there's a leak, yeah, I gotta repair it.
Right.
That's a different situation.
But so does it make sense to then have this account set aside so that we can say 8 years from now, okay, in the next 2 years, we're gonna need a new roof on the town office. Let's get a quote and then set that money aside, or do we say, okay, we're thinking probably that roof is gonna be $50,000, let's put that money in the account and then go get the quote and be able to move on the $46,000 quote versus getting the $46,000 quote, going back to the town to ask for that money, and then all of a sudden it's a $50,000 job.
Yeah, I mean, it takes planning and preparation.
Yeah.
And I don't know, is it the town manager's job to do that? Is it ours? I don't know. That's the issue too, is asking him to start to become a facilities manager is not fair either. So I don't know, I'm just looking for what works. To me, this is not the best way to do it, and that's just my opinion on this.
Well, the other location is to come to you and utilize, I mean, I already, without having a policy in place about what our contingency line is for.
Mhm.
Anytime I use that money, I'm coming to you first.
Yeah,
That's just my general sense of what that money's for, is the board fixing holes within the budget.
I
So
think
let's.
David would like to
Okay,
make that.
sorry. Yeah. I'm gonna turn it down, so.
I just wanted to add on to what I think the way Tor was going is that I think the state defines what you could put in reserves. And when I see something like fringe benefits, I would really wonder if that fits the categories of the state. And then, so I hope that we can follow what is permitted. And then when I see the road reserve at 1.5 or whatever, I wonder, I think there's a limitation percentage wise of what we can have in reserve. So I just want to make sure if that is the case that we're meeting, we're staying under that percentage.
uh,
I don't remember it being, I don't remember just percentage, just limit coming up in discussions ever. Other than what we might impose upon ourselves.
There's,
And that's to be spent this year. It's not a
Yeah.
bond, it's not bonded monies that were.
are you saying?
yeah, David, I think you might be thinking about the undesignated fund balance.
I'm looking at 30A 5801
Mhm.
as that defines reserve.
But there's a difference between undesignated fund balance and reserve accounts for an intended purpose that's been budgeted and raised.
Well, I would just commend that statute to your attention because I think it applies to these type of reserves, but I would agree with Tor that maybe maintenance and things like fringe benefits should maybe better spent in the budget itself.
Yeah, that's a transfer of unencumbered surplus funds at the end of a fiscal year for those purposes.
It says
This
that-
isn't raising taxes.
That says that funds could be allocated to reserve funds from the budget, or you could spill over surplus funds in that. So it's two cases of how you can fund those reserve accounts. But only those type of reserve accounts.
A little research.
So I was just gonna get back to, I think, your question that you had, which was. Don't interrupt you.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Well,
No, I'll follow up later.
okay. Because you said you kind of felt like you needed like a policy
I'd like to have a
about
policy. about
expending funds from
The reserve. the
certain reserve
funds.
accounts or all reserve
Just
accounts
having,
or.
yeah,
So what would that look like? What do you, I mean, do you have thoughts about what that policy would entail?
well, it is something where the town manager comes back to the board to get authorization ahead of doing it.
At a certain dollar level threshold
Yeah, or
every time, or, I mean, it kind of,
I want,
having the policy,
right,
so you are the CEO. You have fiscal authority,
right,
right, within the bounds of the budget.
right.
So I don't want to supersede that by creating a policy that requires you to come to the board every time you spend a penny.
And I hope you know I don't do that.
I know you don't do that. I know you don't do that.
But I think when I'm reaching these $5,000 thresholds for something that you're not necessarily aware of, I want to make you aware of what's happening. And why I believe I need to spend money. The conversation tonight was helpful to say. You can fix that for $50 and we'll go spend the $50 and fix that. We'll be fine for now. I'll come back to you with other solutions. I think this is a good way to do that, is have that conversation. I just don't wanna have spent the $6,000 and then exactly what Tor had mentioned, come back and go, oh, here's your new keys.
Yeah.
You know, that's not my money to spend, really.
So is it a dollar amount, or is it just that you're looking for in a policy, or is it just a policy that, like a check-in, like,
Either one
just
or
like to
both,
get,
maybe both,
to get backup?
yeah. I mean, do you want me to develop one, or do you wanna just continue to trust that I'll come to you when it's these issues? That's really what I'm trying to get at. you want me to develop one, I'll come up with one. It'll probably be something along the lines of. If it's a quote for more than $5,000 and it's not already budgeted for within the operating budget, you're gonna need to use reserves to pay for it. Let us know. Come to us and have the conversation.
Seems like a sensible thing to do. I mean, I think we all trust you financially,
Yeah,
but maybe you're not always gonna be here.
what?
I hate the thought, but it might just be nice to have something put
On
down
the
for a
books.
future.
Yeah.
For the future.
But don't move it to the top of your priority list right
No.
now. Let's
Right,
get to it.
just know that it's out there,
Yeah.
okay?
Okay.
All right, then you don't have to do anything tonight.
Okay.
No motions.
To be discussed further. That leaves us with new business item 6. F, which we have made. I guess we have to call public hearing for the public assistance annual changes,
For the general assistance.
the general assistance, yeah. Get to here.
I'll make the motion to open up discussion I'll move to set public hearing for two general assistance ordinance. For two things, a general assistance ordinance and a general assistance appendices on September 23rd, 2024 at 7 PM.
I'll second that.
Okay, Rufus. And this is just our annual,
Well, so the ordinance itself got changed again. So last year I brought to you the ordinances revisions that had happened in 2022, but this board was never presented with taking action to amend the ordinances then. The legislature this past year changed the ordinance again, so you need to approve it. And then there's every year, yes, the maximums do change or can change. So that is brought to you every year. This is one of those few ordinances where it doesn't have to go to special town meeting or town meeting. It is one that the board has to just have a public hearing and then take a vote for both the ordinance and for the maximums. So that's where that stands at this time. We were just presented the information at the end of last week, so thanks for amending the agenda to address this. Having you schedule the public hearing for the 23rd means that this will could potentially be in effect. After the public hearing, you can take action that night. It'll be in effect before or for October 1st, which is the date like for the state. So, because your next meeting isn't till the 15th or 16th of October, just because of Tuesday is the
Right.
1st.
Mhm.
So it's, and Monday, that Monday's a holiday, so
yeah, 15th, I guess is Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah. So it's halfway through the month already.
Okay.
I know I ran into this problem last year and I'm just trying to prevent it this year.
No, let's make it effective before it's effective. Before it has to be effective.
Get the approval done. So
Yeah.
It's effective as of October 1st.
Okay. Then all in favor of setting the 2 public hearings for September 23rd at 7 PM? Yep, it passes 5-0. Back up. Oh, I'm in the wrong document. No wonder it's not going back up. Fiscal year warrant. Do I have a motion to approve the fiscal year 25, the fiscal year 25 6 AP warrant in the amount of $142,676.61. Moved by Tor.
No, that was.
Nope. I mean, sorry, moved by Ben,
I'll second it then.
seconded by Tor. There we go. I'm used to saying. I guess. Okay, anybody have any? I just had one question. You have the paperwork over there? The LCTV bill for $700 is way above what we normally have in a month. Was that for a couple of months?
Know the answer to that.
Yeah, I guess we can check. Because normally there's not enough to warrant $700 of charges in 1 month. Anybody else have any other questions? Yes, there we go. It's June, July, and
In
August.
August.
That makes sense then? Good. That's what I figured. Okay, then all in favor? All right, passes 5-0. That put us at the end? Oh, no, town manager's report. I almost did it to you again, Kevin, sorry.
That's okay. Thank you for the amendment to the agenda. Again, absentee ballots are accepting requests for those absentee ballots at town hall. You can residents who are already registered voters can call the office. They can email clerk@newcastlemaine.us or stop in the office to request that their ballots be mailed to them when they become available. You can also check out the website, the state's website, or request their absentee ballot through the state of Maine website. Village Partnership Initiative, save the date.
Yep.
So Wright Pierce, Lincoln County Regional Planning Commission, Maine DOT, and the town in Newcastle have landed on Thursday, November 14th, tentatively 5 to 8 p.m. here. This is the second community outreach workshop and meeting regarding the downtown traffic. And I wrote notes on my thing. I meant nodes, traffic nodes, and streetscape redesign. So more information will become available in the weeks and month ahead.
Excellent.
Office space, if you haven't stopped by the office this week, you'll start to see a lot of moving of desks and staff. And I made the joke, have you seen my stapler? Mostly because I've lost my stapler.
Use the voice.
Have you seen my stapler?
Thank you.
We're attempting to reorganize a bit and improve our utilization of the space we have. To optimize our efficiency and be as accommodating and supportive to the public. ICMA conference. I just realized this. I'll be attending the ICMA conference in Pittsburgh this month. Conference starts Saturday, September 1st, and concludes on the 25th, which means I will be missing another meeting. I am sorry. Hopefully it's.
We almost didn't get through the last row without you.
You did fine. So that I will be missing that board meeting on the 23rd. Okay. And then upcoming agenda items, I think the two that are really standing out for me are the shoreline zoning. We missed something in one of the tables that the state was asking us to remove. It's pretty benign. So I hope to just move it through the process and have it as a follow-up the same night of the joint special town meeting in December to then just address that. The language was forest management activities except for timber harvesting and land management roads should be removed from a table that's found in the link on page 24, just to the ordinance. And then core zoning code. I've been serving as your interim code enforcement officer. I've probably already done 20 or so applications for things. And after our last meeting, I became aware of an issue at Newcastle Marine, which is a business at the end of Hall Street. There are some structures that had been put up without having a building permit. I met with the owner. We discussed it. He immediately, a new owner, so he didn't even realize there was a requirement for that. I got him in the next day with a check to pay for those. However, the fabrication district doesn't necessarily allow for those, so I can't approve the permit. So my initial thought was to maybe change the zone to accommodate for that, and switch it to a different zone. I've had a few conversations. There might be some other options, but I wanted the board to be aware, probably work with the planning board to come up with a solution or recommendation to bring to you in the coming weeks so that this too could be addressed for December. Because the last thing I want to do is inform that this business owner with several employees, hey, you got to take down these boat shelters so that you can't work in the winter anymore.
I just let it be known I have business with this guy, so take that with a grain of salt, but.
You can recuse yourself.
Well, exactly. If a vote
Not
comes,
voting.
I'll recuse myself, but when he bought the property, it was not in compliance with the zone. When the zone was made, the property was not in compliance because as a fabrication district, he's only allowed one building with a small outbuilding. As he bought it, again, 2 years ago, and there's the main building and there are two permitted outbuildings. large storage buildings. So it was, when the code was made, it was a non-compliant property. So take that,
The code can handle that. That's just a pre-existing non-conforming use that's allowed
Okay.
to continue. It's fine. It's the addition of additional structures
okay.
after that, makes it, non-conforming.
And more non, and more.
So is this something that is gonna be discussed in planning board or?
I first want to take it to planning board, have the conversation about how we can fix it.
Yeah.
And then bring it back to the select board for with the planning board's recommendation about that.
Good.
I'm trying, you guys have enough to
December.
do, yeah, by December. That's my goal. Gotta have a goal.
Ready.
Oh, I know it's been on here before, the dates or estimates on the Sheepsgate Road repaving with the DOT. Have they updated us at all?
Did they not do it yet?
No, there's been no.
The signs are up, but they haven't done it yet.
Right. That's all right. They're in the same
I will-
boat with 27.
Yeah,
Shows how often I get out there. Okay, I'll reach out, find out for you. Yeah, no,
just curious, because I've had people ask me, because it's been in reports and stuff like that. And they'll be
I
like,
know.
oh, so when are they gonna do it?
I thought it was done. Okay, I'll reach out. I'll get an answer for you. Wow.
The date it was supposed to be done by is come and gone.
Well, so
Started.
what alls I know is that I believe there was one subcontractor or one contractor was supposed to do it that then got subcontracted to somebody else for some portion of it, and it's just been delayed. That's all I understood up until now when I realized it still hasn't been done. Okay.
Okay, then I guess we are done. So, okay.
Oh, did you,
Okay.
oh, let me just touch
Yes, go
on
ahead.
the other part of Cross Street. So
Okay.
really it was, the Hagar Enterprises in their capacity as Great Salt Bay were out there working on replacing the water line on that street, specifically because they had a little bit of money left over and they realized that the joints there had been lead. So they had to replace that whole section too at some point. They had additional money from from that big federal grant they got through infrastructure bond or infrastructure Inflation Reduction Act. One of the two got money to left over from that project to actually replace the line across street. So that's why they spent some extra weeks digging in. There was a lot of confusion tied to the parking lot project in Damascotta and some information that got into the paper that said Cross Street when it really was just meant to be, the neighborhood would help with some of that overflow if they could. The letter E that sat on that little map sat right on Cross
It
Street.
did, yeah.
So there was this concern among several of the neighbors that the town was looking to widen the road and create parking spaces. So
It did say 15 spaces on Cross Street. It's like, we don't have 15 spaces.
15
on
spaces
Cross
estimate, but the
Yeah,
whole,
yeah.
the whole intent was there's probably 15 spots cars could park in the neighborhood
Whole-
to
Temporary.
accommodate. Right, for 2 months.
Not official.
Right, no.
New parking
This-
space.
The whole intent was the town manager in Damascotta reached out to me and said, do you have any parking restrictions on any of the downtown? And I said, no, there's nothing that says it. And to be supportive, if folks need a place to park, they can try to find a place to park. If there's issues with emergency vehicles not being able to get through or having issues with traffic, we'll deal with it then. Needless to say, what came out of it was a letter E on the top of Cross Street saying that there are 15 spots on it.
Yeah.
That concerned a lot of the neighbors and then of course, our road commissioner called me and said, there's a construction project on Cross Street right now. What are you doing saying there can be parking here? So it was a bad communication exercise and there were concerns among the neighbors that we were trying to widen the road as part of this. Now, the only thing that's getting done right now is that all got dug up. All the water lines have been paved. It's been tested. Everything's back online for all of the residents. I believe it got paved at the end of last week too. So it should be done for now. The concerns that, one resident had, we were able to find a compromise to deal with for now. In a few years, once we do all the survey work on Glidden and we do some design for the whole neighborhood, and additional survey work, that's when we'll look to come to get money to repave and redo and finalize the road. But the intent is the neighborhood would be involved in that process, just so like every other neighborhood has been involved in processes, at least since I've been here.
Okay.
So
that was fun.
it was, yeah, it was initially just a meeting with 2 neighbors, and it turned into there were 10 or so neighbors in the office, and I said, why don't we just go for a walk? So we walked up and took a look at all the issues, and Seth showed up, and the 2 of us addressed every question everybody had and got to a place where everybody was comfortable, so.
All right, excellent.
Or at least accepting.
Yes.
What we were talking about.
Good.
Thank you for the update on
Yeah, sorry.
that. I got contacted by a couple of people and I just wanted to, have some idea of what's going on.
Yeah, it is what it is.
All right, then anything else? All right, then without objection, we'll be adjourned. All right, Ben didn't want to vote. It's like, let's just do that.
Do it.